So hi, hello, welcome to my favorite podcast. We are your favorite co-hosts. Co-hosts, right? There's two of us.
Yeah, we're both people.
I'm one of your favorite hosts, Aaron and Sweeney.
And I am your favorite host, Ty Turner.
Wow. Right in front of my salad. I can't even believe.
I'm sorry, Aaron. But you know what? Here, this will cheer you up. Do you know what day it is?
I do, but surprise me. Tell me.
It's the weed day.
It's the marijuanas.
It's the marijuana. It's 420, bro. Blaze.
It is. It doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but many are fond of it. So we've decided to go ahead and just looked at the calendar. We're like, it's 2 days from now, 420. Let's start our podcast.
Let's do a podcast. And let's make it on 420, and neither of us smoke weed.
Pretty much, yeah. So that's, I guess you could guess the topic. I was thinking today, actually Ty was thinking, it was his idea. We were going to talk about drugs today. I guess specifically marijuana, given that that's the day of the month that we're on, but also other things like alcohol, maybe, mostly because Ty was telling the story before and it was riveting. I need to, I need to hear more of it. So
I'll tell you anything you want to know about that. So, you want to lead off with that since we brought it up, and I wouldn't want to forget later, and then people be jonesing.
Yeah, and they're just like, what was it? We'll never know. Well, so Ty was telling me the story before about how he was watching a show about a detective who had to drink a beer to get a key.
His assistant drank the beer. It's Monk, guys. So
yes,
it is a jungle out there if you think about it. And I was laying down for bed. And I always play this show, or a show, and this is the current show whenever I'm going to sleep. And I'm like in my skivvies, covered up, the AC's on, the lights are off. Watch, you don't like skivvies?
What are skivvies?
It's like your underwear.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So you're in your skivs? No, you're painting a picture. Okay. Please carry on.
So Monk's assistant, that's the new word for that. Sharona, you would think that I'm high watching this. This is just how I act. She had to drink a beer. She had to chug a big pitcher of beer to get a key to a locker, to get a bag that had the evidence in it that would solve the case. And I'm watching that and I'm like, you know what? I don't know how to chug a beer. So I sprung from the bed to see what was the matter. And I opened up Google and I read a WikiHow article on how to chug a beer. Filled a glass of water, about 16 ounces, your average beer amount. And I just fucking balled through it. I learned, I taught myself to chug. And now I can chug a beer, probably. I actually haven't field tested it, but the water went down really well.
So a couple of follow-up questions there. Firstly, I didn't know that chugging a beer is something like worthy of making a WikiHow article. Like, is that it's a skill? Like, I don't.
Aaron,
it's as if there'd be an article on how to chug water. I'm like, isn't it just a beverage? Would you not chug it how you chug every other beverage?
I guess I didn't know how to chug anything. Is the problem? If we're gonna get down to the root of this,
you swallow real quick. You go glug glug like I.
Well, you think so, but actually. You don't really swallow. You just let it pour down into yourself. And that's the trick to it. There is like
a snake?
Swallowing, but it's like not real swallowing. Like you flex the muscles, but you don't ever actually like do a gulp. It just...
Do a gulp?
You pretend to swallow.
Big glug energy.
Yeah.
So it's like a snake eating. You just sort of like the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you eat a snake, liquid. And the snake chugs the water.
Got it. So you learned an essential life skill.
Let me ask you this.
Oh, there's more.
I have to get back to something that you said, which you questioned that there would be a WikiHow article about this.
Yeah.
Have you ever visited WikiHow?
No, usually I just Google how to do something and WikiHow's like, I've got you. And I'm like, oh, thanks.
Aaron,
you're always there for me.
There is an entire world out there. We could do a whole fucking podcast about this.
I'm ready.
There's a WikiHow article called How to Pretend to be a Mermaid at School. So if you think that how to chug a beer is like some obscure thing that WikiHow, I got news for you, buddy. They're on everything.
I would love to do that to see like what is the very end, like what could you not find on WikiHow, like to be like, okay, this could you find it, and then yeah, I think
We
that'd
could
be
make
fun.
a game
I would
out of
like
that.
Yeah, I want to test the boundaries of WikiHow to be like, well, could you find how to make your own Advil? I don't know.
Push the fucking limits.
That's the limit for me. Mermaids at school, that's fucking child's play. But like making your own over-the-counter drugs, hit me up with that.
I would search how to find the only thing that there isn't a WikiHow article about. And then if there's a WikiHow article about that, then we've started a paradox.
I'm like, I think you're gonna break the wiki. They're gonna come for you.
Yeah,
they're listening.
They are. We haven't even uploaded yet, and they're on their way.
They're like, open up. Sorry.
They're like those like really shitty like stick people that the people draw for WikiHow.
Oh yeah, the like 2-dimensional like get
They're so strange looking.
Dream job.
It's art.
So it is art, yes. So that was the story of Ty learning how to chug a beer. We're all really proud of this milestone that he's hit.
Still
I
haven't
learned to
actually
chug a beer,
chugged
not clickbait.
But sorry.
Oh, but okay, like technically speaking, you know how to do it. Good. I'm really... You're halfway there. It's half the battle.
Knowing how to do something.
Yeah, it's like, I know how to do it. I read a WikiHow. Haven't you? Like, obviously now I know how to do it. I know WikiHow to do it. So, get hecked.
No.
So the marijuana day today.
Weed up. The teens love weed.
The teens? The youth?
Teens love weed.com.
How do you... how do you know? Did you look it up on like WikiHow?
Yeah.
Like
WikiHow to relate to
how to 420?
Teens?
How to relate.
Weed.
So have you ever gotten high on 420?
Oh, on the date? Definitely.
Yeah. And if so, do you have any like memorable stories, or was it just sort of like it's hyped up, but it's never as like good as it's made out to be?
I mean, when I was in my stony days, I definitely smoked on 420, and it was like, it's 420. It was basically the same as smoking at any other time. It was just like everyone else was also doing it too. And so that was nice. It was like a very nice sense of community. I don't know. I guess I took 420 as being like, I smoked all the time anyway, so it wasn't actually a huge deal. What about you?
All right. I have a very short-lived experience with any sort of recreational drugs. Granted, I understand that like marijuana could be used medically and all that stuff. I'm just me personally.
Wow.
I have literally
so Aaron
no
just
tolerance.
Started a petition to recriminalize marijuana.
What? No. I live in Canada. It's legal here. But when I was a youth, it was not legal. And one of my family members, who I will not name, but I mean, it's slim picking, my
Put them on blast.
family member, was, really into weed. So, so I tried, and I was like, no, I'm the type that just gets like wild panic attacks, and I was like, I can't feel my legs. So it wasn't a good time for me. I was just like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sleep, and that'll make it better. But you don't sleep. You just end up sitting there staring at your wall, freaking out. But that's just me. I have a really low tolerance for everything that has the ability to like alter your state. Yeah, I don't have any fun stories.
That was fun. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I now get paranoid when I smoke weed, which sucks. So I feel that. Look, I have a question. That was your first time smoking and you felt that way?
No, I tried it a couple of times. The first couple of times, I don't think I even knew how to smoke. So I was like, nothing's happening. And then one day I was like, oh, my legs, where are they? Like I legit was walking and I was like, I can't feel my legs. So yeah, and I was like, I hate this. And then I tried it a couple of other times because peer pressure. And every single time I was just like, I didn't realize that it was just causing like really bad dissociative panicked episodes where like I still have those type of panic episodes, but they're not like weed induced, where I'm just like, my skin is numb and I can't see or hear anything. Like I remember once I smoked with my friends downtown and I went entirely blind for like an hour.
What?
Like I had to be, yeah, they had to guide me by the hand. I think it was more to do with panic and like heart pressure issues. Like I have EDS, and sometimes it'll affect like my vision and my hearing. But in that moment, I guess because I was panicking, my body was like, no, you're good. So I remember not being able to see, and I would have to blink really hard to get like little flashes of what I was seeing. But like my friends had to guide me because I was like, I can't see anything. So yeah, that was my like last time, because I was like, frick that.
Oh
I'm
my
not,
God.
not into it. So yeah. But I mean, it's I have I had medicinal marijuana prescribed to me for pain and insomnia recently, like a year and a half ago. And even that, they're just like, it's CBD, you can't get high. And I was like, okay. And I took like a little extra one night, and then I woke up again, and I was like, I could feel the space between my bone and my skin. I was like,
oh my God, that's
I was like, this is
horrifying.
a feeling. Yeah, and I was like sick, and I was throwing up, and I was like, I think I accidentally got high. So I was like, you lied. There is some THC in there. I felt it. So,
Well,
but that's just,
that's fucking wild. I don't remember where I heard this from. One of my friends who does weed was telling me something about how like the CBD industry is like not regulated whatsoever, and like the percentages that they say and the milligrams that they say are just kind of rough guesses. And there was like this test that they did where they tested CBD products that weren't supposed to have any THC in them, and some of them did have like high amounts of THC. So you could have gotten something that actually was getting you high without knowing it.
that's pretty much exactly what I suspected, because I was like, I'm definitely high and I hate it. And it's true that it's just sort of like, it's a bit arbitrary that they're like, oh yeah, this was grown in this specific way and it comes from this specific branch of plant, so it shouldn't have THC. It's like, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but it does. So yeah, and there's not really like an industry wide like uniform way of testing, so like really how would you know? I'm sure it helps some people, but like to be honest, it didn't help at all with my pain, and it would kind of help with my sleep, but like not more than melatonin does. So I was like, I'm just gonna go back to my chewable melatonin. And
yeah, this isn't gonna freak me the fuck out. I'm just take this.
Exactly. What's weird though is I take ADHD medication, and that's like, usually people like sell ADHD medication. It could be used recreationally, but I'm like, I guess I don't understand, because I'm like, how does this get anyone high? Like, but I guess it's weird to me because I take it. I'm like, what are you gonna do? Take out the trash? Like, it just makes me more productive. So yeah, I don't know.
I had that same experience. My friends were all taking Adderall, and they gave me one, and I've never been medicated for ADHD, but I have it. And so we all took Adderall, and they're like all hyped up and doing shit, and they're about to go out. And I was like, I think I'm just going to stay in and work on my video and do my homework, because like I'm feeling like good to do that. And I did. I did a report, and I'm not really the homework kind of person. So that was a new thing. I wish I would have processed that and been able to reflect on it and gotten on something and done better in school. But that one night I was pretty good.
It's never too late. I'm like 25, and I only started ADHD medication like a year or a year and a half ago, and it makes a big difference. And you wouldn't think it does. Like I take it and I'm like, okay, I feel the same, but then suddenly I'm like, oh, like I did the dishes and I didn't, like, it wasn't a big deal. The little things, you're like, oh, this is garbage. Let me just throw this out. But then it's like, oh wait, on a regular day I would just not have that in me. So yeah, it's have you considered? I mean, we don't have to talk about it now if it's a bit personal. But I'm just.
I think I totally would. Like, in my day-to-day, I have such a hard time keeping up with stuff that I don't want to start anything that is like an important medication to take. But that could also be from the ADHD. So
yeah,
might be one of those things. Yeah, I mean, I would. It's just a matter of like finding a doctor that would prescribe it to me and being able to get to that doctor's appointment. I have a hard time keep making it to appointments.
Yeah, maybe because you have ADHD. I don't know, but it's just a shot in the dark.
I know.
I'm just.
It is funny, like whenever I'm thinking about it and verbalizing it to you and breaking down the reasons I'm not on ADHD medicine are like all because of my ADHD.
I'm not on ADHD medicine because I have ADHD. I'm like, wow, I think I know something that might help with that, but I'm not sure. Maybe there's a WikiHow article. Hang on, let me just tick. I wish I had a really clicky keyboard, but yeah, link me to that. That's. I'm gonna call your doctor for you.
You've only ever had bad experiences with weed?
Absolutely. Every time. The only times where it wasn't bad experiences, quite frankly, I think I just wasn't high. I think I was just like, what's it called, contact high, when the people around you are high, so you're just having a good time because of that. Yeah, never had a good time actually getting high. It always freaks me out. I've never had a good time. 25 years, not a single time. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but no, I'm kidding. I'm joking. It's not that bleak, but it's interesting because like I'm in an art program, so like everyone, including my own teachers, would be high. Like my painting teacher once came to our end of the year critique at 9 a.m. with a tray full of just like wine, and she was going out and she's like, I'm gonna go smoke. And we're like, Shelly, it's 9 a.m. and she's like, trust me, you're gonna want me to, because she's critiquing our work. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, that was ruthless. So yeah, it was kind of weird to be in that circle where it's like, so not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just so like everyone's doing it and I'm there like,
it's like ingrained in the culture of art.
Yeah, exactly. I have a follow-up question if you're ready to move on to that topic.
Yeah, to marijuana?
What? Marry and want?
Marry
no?
and wanna? Sure, yeah, I love to.
Marry iguana? So my question about Mary Iguana is, sorry, I have asthma. I'm breathing a lot. So it's about only people with asthma breathe. The rest of you have gills.
Fakers.
So it was about spiritual experiences and getting high. So another part of the people in my life, one of those circles uses marijuana, shrooms, LSD, and I think salvia, is that the one where it's like really short-lived? Okay, and it's like legal or something. Anyway, I think that one was legal before marijuana here, which is interesting. So anyway, basically psychoactive, I don't know, those drugs, to try to induce these spiritually enlightened moments, so like astral traveling or like talking to spirits and stuff like that. And I'm wondering if you've ever met people who've done that, or what you think about that, or if you've experienced it yourself, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, all of them. I definitely have known lots of people who are really into drugs for lots of different reasons, and that included I myself, like whenever I was a stoner, would like, there were times where I smoked a lot of weed and got very, very high, and to the point where like I don't know if I was actually hallucinating or if I was just so high that I would like convince myself that I was seeing stuff that wasn't there. Those weren't necessarily like for spiritual reasons or very fun to even experience, but that happened. I told one of my friends that I saw these like shadow people dancing on the sides of the houses when I was looking outside one time after I had smoked like a ridiculous amount of weed. And he was like, oh, shadow people, that's like apparently something that people see when they're tripping sometimes. And I didn't know about that. It also like, there's like some sort of urban legend about shadow people as well. So I'm glad I didn't know about that when I was high, because that would have freaked me out.
Yeah.
But I've done shrooms, and I did shrooms like for the purpose of trying to figure shit out. Like I was in a really dark place, and well, I've done shrooms actually a few times, but the time that I'm referring to, I actually documented that on my YouTube channel. I made a video about it where I like would do these like little check-ins, did like a video diary throughout my trip, and that was really neat. Like I actually did get a lot out of it, and I experienced a lot of weird shit. It was super cool. It honestly really did chill me out and change my perspective so much about the things that I was worried about at that time, that like I don't know if it was a spirit journey or if I was just high as shit, but it helped. I got what I wanted out of it. So fuck yeah. I would do shrooms again for sure. I loved it. Everyone,
And
if
how
you're
long did
listening,
it,
do shrooms.
Friends, don't do drugs. I feel like I need to tell people, like, consult with your physician first, but I'm pretty sure there's not gonna be a doctor who's gonna be like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Like, oh, sick. Yeah. Are you subscribed to Ty Turner? Nice. So question, how long did it last when you did shrooms? Like, how long before you felt not high anymore?
It was a few hours. I think in total, I can't remember because I did check in with the times. It wasn't, I think sometimes they say it's like the average is like 8 hours with the amount that I took. I think mine until it was totally gone, because even the last few hours, like I was just chilling. Like things were moving around, but I wasn't like, I don't know, in the astral plane at that point. It was probably like 6 hours for it to, from the beginning to when it was totally gone. And in that time, I like fucking talked to nature and met God and a lot of cool shit. It was good.
Nice. I feel like I have too many commitment issues to do that, because like even just like the CBD oil, they're like, we'll take it before bed because it lasts like this many hours instead of lasting like 30 minutes. And I was just like, that's I don't know if I could commit to that much time. So like I feel like just knowing once you take shrooms that it's going to last like 8 hours, I would already be freaking out, because I'd be like, oh no, I can't undo this. I need to know that I can undo something. So
oh yeah,
like
I was really worried about having a bad trip, and I asked Christy to like babysit me, because I was like, if I get to the point where I start freaking out, because I know how I am with weed now, where it freaks me out no matter what. I'll take like one hit and I'll think that I'm fine, and then 20 minutes later I'm like having panic attacks. So I was like, Christy was really chill about it. I gave her a list of things that like would calm me down and songs that I would like to hear. But during it, I was extremely lucid. Even whenever I was hallucinating and experiencing weird shit, it was like, you kind of have to let yourself do it. You kind of have to follow it. It'll start and you have to just kind of follow it. And that was one of the cool things that I learned in that, because whenever I was starting it, I really wanted to control how my trip was going and like what I wanted to see, and I knew what I wanted to explore. But as it continued, like, you know, my brain went other places and I just went with it. And whenever I learned to just like kind of relinquish that control, that's when I had sort of the most profound experiences in the trip. But I can definitely feel like why, like I felt that too. I was like, I could have a bad trip and freak the fuck out. So I was really worried about that.
yeah, like trigger warning before I get into it, like panic attacks, stuff like that, bad tripping, just potential talk of overdose, just before we get into like anything deeper, just in case anyone wants to like click away with that, because yeah, just letting you know. But yeah, I once took too much Gravol because I was told by my doctor that if I have trouble sleeping, there's no harm in taking some Gravol. So I took like more than I usually do because it wasn't working. And I also saw shadow people, and I was like, what the hell? Like, no. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just the wrong person. Like, just word of warning, kids, if you are the type to get very anxious, especially if you feel trapped, you might not want to do the wanna, you know?
Oh,
Because marijuana. Okay.
Did you say Gravol?
Yeah, Gravol. That stuff you take to not like be nauseous on a plane and stuff. Yeah, there's what is it? It's not antihistamines, is it? There's something in it that makes you sleepy. And I was told to take that because it would be more healthy than taking sleeping pills because of my heart, something like that. So I was just like, okay, I would take them. But then I was just like, I see things moving in the corners of my eyes, and I have this like, again, trigger warning, talk of psychosis. I have this like deep-seated fear of eventually developing psychosis. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Not that people who deal with that are like, not that they have an issue inherently. It's just I've witnessed it firsthand from family members who deal with that. And it's been like scary for me, especially as a kid, seeing that I always grew up like worried because it's something that could develop in like your 20s or 30s. So I don't know. I was always like, I was kind of like traumatized by an experience when I was young with a family member by being like, oh, okay. And now, yeah. So I've always been a bit like, I think that might contribute to my panic. Like, I don't I feel like some people smoke and then they have panic attacks about regular things in their life and they don't realize like it's the weed making them anxious. Whereas when I would try to smoke, I would get anxious about being high itself. Like the experience of feeling high would make me like, I'm panicking about that. And I'm panicking about the fact that I'm like, well, now I can't feel not high anymore. What if I feel like this for the rest of my life? And it's not actually about the things happening. It's the event itself. Huh. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is different than how I experience panic in smoking. I was thinking I would talk about some of my earlier experiences with weed and like sort of how I initially got exposed to it and then became a stoner and then not became a stoner.
Go ahead.
And if you want to also contribute your early on stories, I mean, I know you sort of gave us a rough analysis, like a overview, but anything else too. I mean, even like with other stuff, with alcohol or whatever, you can jump in anytime. But I kind of have a fun story for my first ever just like little dabble into weed. So I was
Go ahead.
I was in like 7th grade and I was hanging out with, I had like this kind of like, we were like the skate park kids. We would take our skateboards to school and then like skate to the skate park and then hang out there until it got dark, and that's kind of like what we did every day. So that was kind of like my crew. And then of course everyone else who hung out at the skate park was just sort of, you know, there was high schoolers that would go there, and then also like people who dropped out of high school who just kind of hung out there all day, and then they'd already be there when we got out of school. So, you know, I got to know this like group of people, but like me and my 3 close friends that we always went there together, we decided that we wanted to smoke weed. We wanted to try it because none of us had ever done it. So there was this person that was always hanging out down there, and her name was Bella, but she did not look like a Bella. Like, I feel like a Bella is just like this like petite little like fairy girl, but this Bella was like a scary person. But we knew that we could get weed from her, so we asked her, and she was like, all right, yeah. It was like a Wednesday. She's like, okay, I'll be back in like 20 minutes. And so she comes back and she's like, it'll be $10. So we're like 13. We're like, all right, sounds good. We all chip in like $2, 3 or 4. I don't know the math. There was 4 of us and we had enough to make $10. So we gave it to her and she came back like 3 hours later. So not 20 minutes, but she finally did return with not a Ziploc baggie, but actual just saran wrap that had been tied.
Okay.
And then like wrapped around itself to where you could see a lot of saran wrap and then faint, in there, just like hints of green. And we were like, oh, fuck, we got weed. so we got that and we were stoked. And so I made this plan, and it was like a heist movie. I like rolling out the blueprints. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Everyone's gathered around. This Friday is homecoming. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to the skate park. We're going to smoke. And then my mom's going to take us to homecoming. And then we'll be high at this school organized event, as we should be. So
what could possibly go wrong?
I watched like a YouTube video about how to make a bong with like a Gatorade bottle, and then you cut it and you put like a pin tube. Like you take all the parts of the pin out, just use the tube. You put water in it, and then you use a socket as the bowl. You put the weed in the socket. Kids, listen up.
Don't try this at home, please.
So
it sounds like an explosive.
And we got all the pieces for it, and like one of the kids was gonna bring eye drops, and I was bringing Febreze, and like we had it all set up. We weren't gonna get caught. So
I dropped some Febreze. Yeah, no, solid. Go on.
So, which is kind of funny to think about because everyone at the skate park smoked weed openly out there anyways while we were skating. I'm sure I smelled like weed every day that I came home from skating. But, not this day. We couldn't get caught. So,
But if you come home smelling like a bottle of Febreze, that's not suspicious at all.
Clean
Your mom would
linen.
just think like, oh, I was doing laundry at the skate park. It's fine. Don't worry. Go. No, please continue.
yeah. So the days leading up to that Friday of homecoming, we all took turns taking the weed home. And we never opened the
like
syringe.
a hamster. Yeah, all right, cool. So you all
We just
took
wanted
turns
to
with
have it.
saran
We all
wrap.
just took our turns having the weed on our person, and none of us ever opened it or looked at it.
Mhm.
And so finally, it's that Friday. We have all our stuff. We have our Febreze, our eye drops. We have the weed, and we show up to the skate park, and 2 out of the 4 of us bails. So it's just me and one other guy, and we're skating. And, my mom's going to pick us up around like 6 to take us to homecoming. And we're just kind of skating, and time is going by, and we're still skating. And then it's like pretty close to when my mom would be coming to get us. And I'm like, hey, I think my mom's going to be able to tell we're high. Like, I don't think we should do this. He was like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Let's wait and let's do it another day. And I was like, okay, cool. So we go to homecoming. And we don't smoke that day, and we're chilling. The weekend goes by, and that Monday comes around, and we go back to the skate park, and we're like, okay, we didn't smoke the weed. Let's just look at it. None of us have looked at it yet.
Okay.
So we open the bag, and it's grass. It's literal blades of grass that she sold us for $10, and it took her like 2 or 3 hours to get back.
Took her
to
3
us.
hours. Well, she had to mow her lawn, so yeah, of course it took her some time.
And I didn't smoke. Like, we didn't even try
the
again.
grass. Oh, that was it. You're just like, well, that's that. We gave it our all. Just gonna save this for Breeze.
We tried our best. Yeah, we did make the bong. I don't think it would have worked anyways because it was really shitty.
It sounds dangerous. Kids, please don't light Gatorade bottles on fire with liquid inside them. I don't feel like that would work out super well.
That's not even the most sketchy way that I've smoked before, is what's sad about that.
I almost don't want to hear it.
There's this
But
way.
please go on.
You take like an empty can of like, soda pop or an energy drink or something, empty it out, crush it to where the top is kind of flat, but there's still like, you can still get air through it. And then you poke holes in the top and you put the weed on top of it and light it and like suck through like the opening of the can. And it's so bad, but it works. I've also smoked out of an apple before.
I've heard that one, yeah. But the first one, you sounded like, I feel like you can make toast that way. It sounded like a do-it-yourself toaster. Yeah.
DIY. Yep.
Yeah.
Whenever if I ever get the RV up and running and I'm living that van life, I'll remember that for making toast.
Yeah, survival skills. Make a WikiHow article. How to do that, whatever that is.
Oh my god.
I have like a similar story. The first time I tried to buy a marijuana, and it was the same. I was like, I don't even have any intention of smoking. I really wanted my sibling to like me and think I was cool because I thought that they were the coolest person in the world. So I bought a weed off a friend, and I brought it to my sibling, and I was like, could you roll this? And then like they opened the bag, and they like, for some reason we were like texting because like, oh, their parents can't find out, and they text me and they're like, hey, this is oregano. I don't know how to tell you that. And my sibling's just like, so do you want me to roll this or like make a sauce? And I was like, listen, you don't have to be so snarky. But I was the same. I would just keep it in my pencil case at school because for some reason, there was this thing. All right, look, listen. When I was young, I was anxious. I know it's hard to believe because I have it so together now. So I was a really anxious teenager, and people thought I was on drugs, even though I wasn't. Even though I like smoked all of 3 times. People thought I was on drugs to the point where like there was a rumor going around that I was on like cocaine or speed or something, and I was like, I don't leave my house, I don't do anything, but okay. And I would kind of just like let people think that and go along with it because I didn't know how to explain that. I was like, I just have anxiety. I didn't know what that was, so I did always seem jittery and like hyped up. It's like unmedicated ADHD and rampant anxiety. But so yeah, people thought I was on drugs, so I got that bag of oregano. Keep it in my pencil case, and like for some reason I thought that was easier than trying to explain like it's weird when you're a kid, when you feel like mental health issues, like even when I was like, trigger warning depression, but like when I was feeling depressed, I was like, I feel like I need a reason,
Yeah.
I feel like I need to have this sad story, but I just didn't have one. So it's like, why are you sad? I don't know. Just my pet ran away. I had 2 dogs, but none of them ran away. But yeah, I would just feel like I needed to like make up a story every time someone would ask what was wrong. So yeah, for a while that was it. People just thought I was on drugs. I was not.
Well,
yeah, it ended up getting back to like a teacher who told my dad, who told my mom, and they told me off, and I was like, get me drug tested. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Literally get me drug tested. I'm like, I haven't done anything. I'm just anxious. And yeah.
Just based on the way you were acting, the kids told your teacher that you were on drugs?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
One of my friends who was like mad that I didn't want to be friends with her anymore. I had a lot of like, okay, growing up trends. My dad teaches at an all-girls school, I don't know if you know that, actually. I don't know how common knowledge that is, but he teaches at an all-girls school. I went to a boy-girl school, but I used to go to the orchestra at my dad's school, and I was friends with some of the girls there, and I was the closest thing to a boy. It's a shocker, I'm a boy. But like at the time, didn't know. So like I had some friends who were girls who were like not gay, but liked the attention from me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and this one girl was like really intense, like write me letters and spray them with her perfume type of intense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I kind of just like backed away from that one because I was like, this is a lot. And it was a lot, commitment issues.
Right.
And when I like backed away, she was just like, oh yeah. And then she's like, I'm going to tell teacher that you're on drugs. I'm like, I had jokes on you, not on drugs. I just have anxiety. So yeah, that was
wild.
Interesting. It's funny though, because like my mom was all like, convinced. My mom's always kind of thought that I was like this troublemaker just because, I don't know, I'm this, even though like I'm not the troublemaker out of me and my sibling, but it's another story. But my dad immediately was like, no, my kid's not on drugs. I spend all my time at school, like at my school, and then at my dad's school. So he's like, nah. So it was cool that he believed me. I was like, when would I, like, I mean, again, drug test me. He was like, I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so weird to me how much like schools can pry into students' like personal lives and stuff. I mean, like if a student was actually clearly on drugs, then maybe talk to their parents about it. But like a rumor that isn't tested and like they don't have any reason to think that, just a kid said that and now they're gonna tell your parents that. It's just so weird to me.
I'm like, I'm not that like underperforming in school is like correlated to, like, I'm not saying that like trying to put the two in the same basket. I'm just saying like, it's not like I had any behavioral issues or any absences or my jaw just clicked. It's not like there were any reason for them to look into like, well, is there something up with this student? I was just like quiet and anxious, like that was it. Jesus. And, very masculine. So there was also that. Which was a cause for concern. I had one teacher. Okay, tangent. I had a teacher who was very nice, but quite homophobic. Mm. So in her class, we had to choose like a human rights issue to debate. I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with weed. I'm going on a tangent. And I chose like, should gay people be allowed to adopt? Because let's debate that. And anyway, her response to me, instead of grading my debate, was, I plead the fifth. To which I was like, I'm pretty sure it's only an American thing, but like, go off. And I'm like, we're Canadian. Okay. So yeah,
get wrecked, dude.
Get wrecked. And then she called me into her class, like during like regular class period. She called me into her class, and she was like, she's pregnant, so she was blaming her emotions on that. And she told me that not all men are bad and that I should give men a chance, and that like she started to tell me about how like trigger warning abuse, child abuse stuff, telling me about how she was abused when she was younger, and like she was like hurt by her parents, like by her dad basically, and was like saying that like not all men are violent, not all men are bad. And I was like, I don't have any. My dad's like super chill, like it's fine, it's not trauma. I just really like women. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, that's my story. I don't even know how I started that, but
I had a family member who told my mom in a nice, they didn't mean it in a bad way, but essentially like because of like my past experiences with similar things like what you're talking about, that's why I wasn't into men. And it was just so saddening for them, and they just wanted me to know that there are good men out there. And I was like, what the fuck, folks?
Yeah, it's weird when it's that like misguided homophobia. Like someone says something horrible and problematic, but like genuinely believes they're coming from a good place and they're like trying to help you, but you're also like, oh, yikes, please. Yeah. But that was the closest thing to being like a problem child that I was. That was it.
Holy shit. That wasn't the case with
like
me. I was a hellion.
Really? I feel like you would have been such a noodle. You seem like a good noodle.
Well, no. I was just very outspoken and loud and opinionated and always getting myself like not into bad trouble, but I was just kind of a rowdy kid. And then in high school is when, I started smoking weed. We can get back to that with this beautiful full circle right here. And that's kind of when things started being a problem. Like I got caught making pot brownies when I was in high school.
At school?
Nope, at home. I was living with my aunt and uncle, who were amazing. I love them so much. I was living with them at the time, but they're also like, my uncle is super straight-laced and like real religious. Like my rule with them, if I was living there, then I had to go to church with them every Sunday. And I was like very obviously not into it, but I'd go to church every Sunday. So like my uncle came home and I was making pot brownies that I was selling to kids at my school. And I basically I had done a lot in that day. So my uncle was a firefighter, or he was a paramedic, so he was on like the fireman's schedule where they'd have like, I think they'd work for like 3 days and then they'd have 1 day off, something like that. So I thought he had another day at work, but it was his day off. So he was coming home and it was like 4 p.m. I had just got out of school and I knew my aunt was working late, so I was trying to make a bunch of things happen at once. One of those was cooking pot brownies, and the other one was planting a marijuana leaf in the woods. Not a leaf, a plant. It was a seed.
Just one little leaf.
I'm not quite a botanist, but I do what I can.
So
you
tried to grow your own marijuanas?
Right,
Go on.
yeah. So I had gone out in the woods, I had taken the shovel, and I had planted my weed plant where I knew it would be. Because, like, my family all lives on the same street, and they have a bunch of land that's, like, just woods. So I went pretty deep out there, and I just planted one seed. And then whenever I got back from my little hiking trip, my uncle was pulling into the driveway, and I was really stoned already because I was always stoned during this time in my life. So I was like, holy shit. I ran into the house, like as he's pulling in the driveway, I ran in, locked and deadbolted the door.
Solved.
Put the shovel away, went into the kitchen because I had like started making the weed butter, because there's like a specific way that you make pot brownies where you got to get the THC out of the plant and into the butter and then strain it. And like I didn't have any of the necessary tools, so I was like trying to MacGyver this shit, and so the kitchen was a mess. It was all bad. And I had weed everywhere because I had been grinding it up. I had been smoking. I had been cooking. I was doing a lot of things with it. So I'm like scrambling to get it all hid. I take the skillet that has the butter with the weed in it that is like heating up. And I take that and I run out the back door with it. And I hid it under the deck.
Oh my God.
And by the time I got back inside, he's inside. He has unlocked the door. He's figured it out. He solved my riddle. And he goes, "Are you cooking gravy?" And I was like, "No, I'm making brownies." And by that, just how freaked out I was, he was like, "Okay." And he kind of went off and did his own thing, and I continued to do it, and I like stealthed around. I think he went outside to mow the lawn or something. So I had a few minutes. I ended up finishing the brownies, which was just such a ballsy move to do while he was just out and about at home. Yeah, and I finished up the brownies, and I went into my room, and like my aunt came home, and it was later that night. I thought I was in the clear, but obviously I was super fucking stoned and acting like a wild person, running around with a shovel and a skillet and making things. So my aunt comes in the room, and I knew they were suspicious of me because I could hear them talking, and you know, they were just acting funny. And she comes in there and she's like, "Hey, so you made brownies?" And I was like, "Yep, I made brownies, you know, just to take to my friends. No big deal." She's like, "Oh, well, they look really good. Can I have one?" Sure.
No, Tiny. No.
So I gave her one, and she ate it.
Oh no! Did she get high?
Honestly, not to put her on blast, but this was kind of a time in her life where she was going through some stuff, and she was sort of self-medicating with other things. If she did get high, she didn't realize it because
Got it.
she didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
So she ate a brownie. It may or may not have gotten high. But then, I don't know, they just kept questioning me about it, and finally she asked me, she was like, "Are these pot brownies?" And I don't know why, but I gave in. I was really high, and I was like, yeah, I made pot brownies. I'm sorry. Like, that's what it is. Because they were pretty adamant, and I didn't want to lie to them. I don't know why I didn't just keep denying it, but for some reason I gave in, and I told them yes, and they confiscated my weed. They called my dad over. I had a major panic attack because I was still really fucking stoned. Because after I finished the brownies, I ate one, and it made me high. So I'm sure that...
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought you meant like after you told your aunt and uncle, like, yeah, these are pot brownies. You're like...
So my dad came over, and he took all my weed and flushed it down the toilet, and they took my brownies, and I was really bummed out. And then my uncle was like, "What was the deal with the shovel?" And I was still wanting to have my weed plant, I guess. And so I wasn't telling him. I kept telling him other stuff. I was like, okay, I buried a condom because I was embarrassed. I didn't have sex. I just wanted to look at it. I just looked at a condom, and then I didn't know what to do with it, so I buried it. He was like, okay, so what did you bury in the woods? Well, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I was just saying that's crafty, yeah. It's a good response. I would have been like, I found a hamster. I don't know.
Found
Shit.
one, and it was dead.
God, lying is... it's hard. Go on. So yeah, you buried a condom.
And so he was like, "So really, what did you bury out here?" And I was like, "It was an alcohol bottle. My mom bought me Mike's Hard Lemonade, and I didn't want anyone to find out, so I buried it." And he was like, "Okay, but for real." I was like, "All right, it was a weed." So I went, and he had me show him where it was, and I took him to the spot, and he sprayed it with weed killer appropriately.
Oh no. R.I.P.
And so that's how my parents found out, or well, you know, my aunt and uncle found out that I was doing marijuana. But before that, like leading up to that, I had been smoking for like a year, and I was high more than I was sober, and I was stupid with it too. Like obviously from that story, you can tell that was just like not a, like what was I thinking in that entire situation? Obviously nothing, because I was high the whole time. But like, I smoked weed in my school bathroom. I smoked weed one time. I'd smoke weed every day before school, and my stepmom would pick me up and take me to school with my stepsisters. And one time I was smoking in like one of those little one-hitter pipes, and I had my emo bangs, and they caught on fire, and it was like 5 minutes before my stepmom got there. So I had to like rush around high, trying to figure out like what to do with, and it took me a second too to even realize that my hair was on fire, so a lot of it burnt off and it hurt my forehead. And I just went to school with like really fucked up bangs that day.
There's nothing wrong with smoking weed. It's the sneaking around that I'm like, I don't smoking in the school bathroom. I'm like, I'm so like afraid of doing something wrong. I'm such a stickler for following the rules, mostly because I'm afraid of like the consequences. I'm like, no, please don't be mad. I mean, I've never lit my bangs on fire. That's
good.
That's that. Once by accident, my friend was like smoking outside and got cigarette ashes in my eye. My mom didn't believe me and I couldn't see because like they had scratched the lens of my eye. So I went to and like I didn't tell her. I was like, something blew in my eye on the way home from school because I knew she wouldn't believe me. And then I went, and then they like at the optometrist were asking. I was like, I think it might be cigarette ashes. Or what makes you think that? I'm like, because it was cigarette ashes. And then my mom was just like, you were smoking, you lied. I'm like, I didn't tell you because I knew you wouldn't believe me, much like you don't believe me right now. It's just I was sitting lower, my friend was standing up and smoking, she flicked her cigarette, and I got ashes in my eye. I didn't make physics, so yeah, that was...
Plus, if you were the one smoking the cigarette, it would have been really hard for you to get the ashes in your own eye.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, had it been me, wouldn't the ashes fall downward because gravity, or like blow away from me because like there would have to be like an upward gust of wind to like, plus I have glasses. So it's like clearly if I'm sitting down and I'm looking down, my friend flicks cigarette ashes, it makes sense that it fell into my eye, but like, no, of course not. Listen, okay. There's something you were saying, you made brownies and I don't remember anymore. There's something that I was just like, oh, I don't.
Was it about maybe the butter that you have to make, the certain way that you make them?
Nah, I completely forgot. But I was just gonna actually just throw something in about like, hey kids, don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
There's nothing wrong if you're an adult and you're using marijuana and it helps you. All the power to you. I'm just saying, like when I was a teenager, I thought that I had to smoke weed to fit in. And I know it sounds like such an after school special, but it's the goddamn truth. Like, yeah, people thought it was cool. And like, I wanted to fit in with my sibling and with my friends. And I felt like there was nothing interesting about me. So I felt like I had to do that to be somebody, to be like, you know, I don't know, to be anything other than like that queer emo that everyone made fun of. So it was to give me kind of like an edge, and like, it wasn't good. It was every time it happened, it was dangerous. I didn't know that I had a heart condition at the time. So like one time that I smoked, I went entirely blind for an hour. That's scary. So I'm just saying, like, don't feel pressured to smoke. Like sometimes I get upset with like, not all influencers, but some influencers who, there's a difference between like, okay, I smoke recreationally, it's fine. And then like romanticizing smoking, and like, there is a certain amount of like, don't encourage kids to smoke, you know? And so I just want to like, I don't want to be part of those influencers who make kids think that like smoking is cool.
I do.
If you want to smoke and you're an adult, go for it. Damn it, Ty. Get a drive to Arkansas, okay? I'm going to find your little weed plant. I'm going to spray it with weed killer. No. Yeah. That's right. Get hecked. So yeah, I just wanted to throw in my little like after school special shout outs to be like, hey, kids,
and
it's me, not Smokey the Bear.
Because it like inhibits certain types of growth in your frontal cortex if you smoke before you're 25.
Yes, your frontal lobe is not fully developed until the age of 25, and you could cause like permanent damage if you're smoking weed, especially regularly. You could cause imbalances with serotonin. You could also induce psychosis later on in life because you smoked a lot when you were growing up, and it was that crucial developmental stage in your teenage years. So I'm just also like, not to scare you, I'm just...
No, I'm
scared. Ty's just like, oh no, Aaron said my frontal lobe broke. No, you're good. You're fine. It's fine. You're good.
Holy shit. Just, you know. What's funny that you say that you were pressured. I mean, that's not funny. What's funny for my experience, it was the opposite. My friend group was like really good, really churchy, really like
churchy,
not into anything like that. Like I don't know. I was such a wild one. I was the crazy one in my group. Sorry, is that sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy is a slur because ableism toward people with developmental disabilities, but you caught yourself, so you're good. Thanks for that.
Cool. But yeah, I was definitely not, I didn't fit in very well to my group. So whenever I started smoking weed, like I kept it from everyone. Like I said, my family didn't know, my friends didn't even know. So it was one of those things where I was doing completely in secret, like the opposite. Like if they had found out, I would have been outcasted. But then as I went on, like I made friends who did smoke weed. So then it did become a social thing. But for a long time before that, like it was like flip flopped. Weird.
Interesting. Yeah. Like my immediate friend group was also not at all. I was the only one who had ever even like tried smoking. The rest of like my actual friends, I don't think ever smoked. Maybe they did when they got to college, but I was like 14 at the time. But it was more to like fit in with my brother's friends and also in my head to make myself like, I also didn't want people to know because the people around me were like, literally at my dad's school where it was an all girls Catholic school. By the time I got there, I was like already over it because, all those 3 times you can't really stretch that out. But it was more like for myself in my head to make myself feel edgier and to make myself feel like there was something else about me. I don't even know, honestly. It's hard to, it's almost like nobody was directly peer pressuring me. Nobody was like, smoke a weed, but it was kind of this idea that I had from like media influence and like the people I looked up to, including like my sibling, to be like, hey, well, if I do this, maybe I'll like myself more. Like maybe this is the thing that'll make me feel happy. So, yeah, but it didn't make me feel happy. So
no.
just,
Yeah, weed freaks me out now too. And don't smoke weed unless you want to.
Some people use it for pain management, insomnia, stuff like that. It's like if you're using it responsibly and you're an adult, I mean, by all means, go ahead. It's just, the youth, I'm a bit apprehensive about, You could also, like, if you get a criminal record, if you get caught, let's say like in my program, art education and creative art therapies, I'm not even allowed in the program if I have a criminal record, even if it's just for possession of marijuana, because I work with youth. And if you work with youth, you can't have a criminal record. So it's like something as minute as that. Like you're playing with your future sometimes. And it's not to say that it's right, especially like I know a lot of people of color are incarcerated because of possession, whereas like the white kids usually get off scot clean. So like I get that it's not. It's like there was a great deal of privilege there. If a teacher caught my sibling with weed, my sibling doesn't have a criminal record because it's still like, oh, well, he's just a good white boy going through a hard time. Like, there's a lot of privilege involved there, but I'm just saying sometimes, make sure that where you live, maybe some places it doesn't go on your permanent record unless it's over a certain amount, stuff like that. Like, just watch out for yourself because that would have sucked had I screwed up my chances of getting into this program because when I was 14, I decided to have a bag of oregano and lawn shavings. So, yeah.
Roll it up. I totally feel that, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never know how it'll affect you. Like I thought, I was a stoner. I was Doobie Pothead Stoner of the Year 3 years in a row. Yeah, I got the award.
3 years in a row. I'm like, do you have ribbons?
Yeah, you know how they do like the superlatives at the end of school years.
You're serious?
Where everyone votes. Yeah.
No way. Okay, I didn't know they had that. Like, they had a category for that.
Yeah, Doobie Pothead Stoner of the Year, 3 years running.
God. Sometimes I feel like you say things. I'm like, I don't know if you're being fucking serious or not. Yeah. So you were the big dude.
I can show you my Dundee. I have it right behind me if you even need to see it.
Ty almost convinced me that raccoons lay eggs once. Okay, and like that's.
Remember at the conference when I convinced that guy I was the best man at his brother's wedding?
Right, and he's like, "No way, I'm the best man," and you're like, "Oh man, no way, I'm the best man at the same wedding," and he's like, "Oh wow, this is my brother's wedding," and I was just like, how do you get people to believe you? Like I can't say anything because fucking he almost got me to believe that raccoons lay eggs, and I was like, no, there's no way. And you were it's because you're so believable. You have this like stone face, and I'm like, wow, I guess raccoons really do lay eggs. You're like, yeah, like platypus, like yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And you're like, I was like, let me check the let me ask people online, and then you're just like, no, Aaron, I'm kidding. Don't tweet that.
Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Don't do it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I find it funny.
But what was that? Oh, okay. So yeah, I smoked weed a lot for a long time, but now I'm to the point where like if I smoke a little bit, it freaks me out. My whole body shakes, and like I recently hung out with someone where weed is legal. I'm sure he wouldn't care. Well, I'm not gonna put him on blast. I hung out with someone in a place where weed is legal, and he gave me a gummy that was 5 milligrams, and I ate it, and I was like, this should be fine, because I've taken a 10 milligram edible before. Edibles hit me different. They're fine. Well, no. This one apparently was like all THC, and I usually get like indica, which is like lower THC, and it just kind of stones you rather than like makes you high, which are two different things, and that's the medical terminology that they use. So I took that and we were like, okay, we both like horror movies. Let's watch a shitty horror movie and like make fun of it. So we're going through Netflix and like watching the trailers for these bad horror movies. Like the trailer of one that was so fucking cheesy, I couldn't handle it. I was like, I can't do this. We cannot watch anything with any sort of like remote negative connotation whatsoever. I'm freaking out and I was shaking.
Oh no.
And so we put on a comedy and then I just went to sleep because I was like, I can't get through this. I can't do anything.
Oh, and I did that too. When my siblings' friends came over because my parents were out of town, they all got high, and I thought that one of the boys was real cute, so I went with them, and I was trying not to freak out, and they were like watching scary movies, so I went to my room and watched Winnie the Pooh because I thought that would help, and now I just have this association to just being like terrified, shaking, watching Winnie the Pooh, and I'm like, it wasn't helping. Oh no, I can't even think of it. I get nauseous. I'm like, oh, it's so. I'm really bad with feeling like I'm out of control of things and my environment and my own perception, so it's just like, this sucks. So yeah, just a little word of warning, friends. Apparently, I might be pulling this information out of my butt, but I've heard that people on the spectrum sometimes, and people with ADHD, actually, I think it has something to do with dopamine and norepinephrine, that sometimes we process drugs that affect your state differently, especially because, for example, I already deal with what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a very sensitive to stimulus. There's a word, sensory processing disorder. So things are really intense for me. So having something that could heighten my state would make it that like my already really sensitive to touch skin becomes even more sensitive. And that's why my therapist even explained that like sometimes during panic attacks, our body will send all the blood to your organs to try to keep you like alive because it thinks it's under attack, but also like shoots you with adrenaline so you're awake but you're experiencing fainting. So that might also explain the like episodes of blindness and deafness that I experienced. And that still happened during panic attacks. Sometimes it just happens. I'm like, I can't see or hear anything, but I'm like, at least I know what's going on. My body thinks I'm fainting, but it's keeping me awake. I'm like, no, thank you. But yeah, just a little word of warning if you deal with either of those things like autism or ADHD, maybe pace yourself. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not your dad, but
take it slow, take it easy. I would say that if you are an adult who wants to try weed, go to somewhere where it is legal and buy it from a dispensary. Have you ever been in a dispensary, Aaron?
Yeah, we have them here.
Isn't it so neat? It's like everything's packaged and it tells you what percentage of everything it is, where the plant's from, what kind of music it likes, what political party it follows.
Wait, what?
No, I mean...
I mean, I've been there. It's usually nice because people help you and they're really sweet about it. And I was like, this is nice. I didn't end up buying anything. So I was like, I'm scared. But they were very kind. And yeah, it gets rid of that added layer of like potentially having a criminal record or buying something that you don't know exactly where it came from. Sometimes they'll slip things into there that shouldn't be in there and it could be dangerous. So that, at least if you're getting it from a dispensary, it's safe, legal, you know what you're getting. If you're freaking out, call the dispensary and be like, hey, I don't feel good. And maybe they'll be able to help you out. You can't really call Bella from the Skatepark and tell her you're not feeling well.
Right, exactly. And that's another thing is like you oh man, I blanked. I had something to contribute and it just went out of my brain. It's because I fucked up my frontal cortex as a child.
Oh no,
my frontal lobe.
You're good.
It's not even a cortex.
It's fine.
Wow. There you go. Point proven. What was I going to say? Oh, if you're having anxiety, like if you want to try it, you think it'll help you, but it's freaking you out and you're like, I know that this is a drug, going to a dispensary and buying it from there and knowing that it's legal calms that down. Because like even in my adult stage where I'm like, I know that weed freaks me out now. I have since been to Colorado and purchased these little gummy like marshmallow chocolate edibles, and buying it in the store and stuff really calmed my anxiety about having it. And then it was like super low THC, so it actually didn't freak me out. So again, if you know what you're getting and they can help you out with that helps. As opposed to just like buying a fucking taped up saran wrap from Bella at the skate park. You never know what you're smoking there, and you're bound to run into something bad.
Yeah, you're starting with a layer of anxiety of like, I don't know what this is, I don't know where it came from, and I feel like I get really paranoid when I'm breaking the rules. So yeah, I would also recommend, like, if you can, if it's, again, depending on where you live and all that stuff. So there's that. But yeah, I think we're past the 1 hour mark. I think
we hit it hard, man.
Yeah, 420 blazed it.
We blazed it.
420 was an inside job. So
wow.
I enjoyed this. I hope you're ready for more podcasts. I'm really excited. Once I commit to something, I'm like super, took a while to get this started, but I'm so happy we started it. And
we went for it.
We did. We jumped right in.
We realized that 420 was a few days away, and we were like, now's the time.
It's a sign. It's a sign. Why else would God put 420 there if not to launch our podcast, So
thank you, God.
That's how that works.
And thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, God.
Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, Ty. Thank you, Lissy. Yes. Cool. I hope you all enjoyed this. Let us know what you think. Oh, weren't we gonna do?
Oh yes, we have an ender.
Yes.
We've decided that on My Favorite Podcast, we're going to wrap up the episodes by taking a relevant BuzzFeed quiz, and then we will also leave the link to that in the YouTube description. If you're listening somewhere else that isn't YouTube, you can just Google the name of the quiz. It's not that difficult. It is difficult to talk, but it's not difficult to take this quiz. What quiz are we doing, Aaron?
We're doing the quiz, What Drug Are You? And anyone who does take the quiz, feel free to leave your results in the comments section. I think that might be a fun little way of interacting together.
Yes, but it is the one that I found is what drug are you on?
Oh, okay. What drug are you on? My bad. I'm
so
not sure. Are we like even
one.
on the? Are we on the same quiz? Do you want to link the quiz?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it the BuzzFeed one with looks like someone with their hands in the air?
Mine was what drug are you? So I don't think I was on the right one.
Well, that sounds more fun. Send me yours, and I'll take a peek at it.
Dang, hang on. Let me go back in.
Is it also a BuzzFeed? Sorry, what did you say?
I think. No, it was Playbuzz.
Well, we can do
so
that.
I don't know. Yeah, but it's called what illegal drug are you? And I don't know how I feel about legality and all that stuff. And you know.
Oh.
So yeah. So I'm gonna go with yours. I trust BuzzFeed. So what drug are you on?
What drug are you on?
So people are balls of cosmetic light beamed from the universe, all interconnected and experiencing each other subjectively. I mean, wow, at me next time. Other responses: look at me funny, you got a problem? Okay. Third response: beautiful man, just beautiful. Fourth response: looking at me funny, I think I need to go home. Third response: my personal fan group and devoted audience. And last one's just statistics. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with the first one.
Some of those are really fucked up.
What shall we listen to? First option: Oasis, turn it up. Queens of the Stone Age, Chemical Brothers, The Doors,
Chemical
man.
Brothers?
Just no idea. Just stick the radio on. I'm in a hurry, or whatever I have to say. I guess Oasis.
I'm doing The Doors, man. Some of these I feel like you can tell which drug it is. Like some of these are very obviously coke.
Then number 3, pick a hero.
Well, I know who two of these are. Well,
yeah, I only recognize Snoop Dogg. Just Snoop Dogg. I'm going to choose Snoop Dogg because I don't know who the rest of them are. Yeah. It's 11 p.m. on Friday night. How do you feel? Vision blurry, and I keep singing to myself, but otherwise great. I mean, literally same. Ready to tackle that last spreadsheet? No. Hungry? Got a pizza menu? Absolutely effing fantastic. Fascinated by this carpet? Or I feel like dancing and having a cuddle. I'm going to go with the blurry vision because, always.
I'm going to do hungry. I don't love the light show going on in the background of this.
No. How do you feel about politics? It's all a load of bollocks, really. I don't know if I pronounced that right. The first thing I read about in the paper every morning. No, it's a privileged statement. Boring unless we're talking about the legalization debate. An illusion distracting us from our true potential as a race. Okay, and the earth is flat. I could be prime minister if I wanted. Or why can't we all just get along? Oh, God.
The one that says distracting us from our true potential as a race, do they mean the human race, or is that... I'm not picking that one either way.
That sounds like one of the conspiracy, we never went to the moon and the earth is flat type things. I guess I'll just go to I could be prime minister if I wanted, just because the rest of them are literally all I don't care about the news. It's Okay, well, you don't have to care about the news, I guess. It's 3 a.m. on an average Friday night. How do you feel? Okay, this is just like gibberish. I wish I could sleep.
Same.
I think my dog is disappointed in me.
Oh, that's me. Oh my God.
I've discovered the meaning of life after talking to those monkeys. I am a living god, or you are my best friend and I love you. Okay, Friday night. I think it's going to be I wish I could sleep because like that chronic illness feeling, you know?
Got him.
Are you the disappointed dog?
Yes.
How do you most love... Wait, who? Not how. Oh, I could read. Who do you most love in the world? The barmaid. She's amazing. No. Every stranger I meet.
What country is this from?
I don't know. Love itself is what we need to love. Okay. The staff in Starbucks. Oh, Karina. Love is for the weak. Okay. Who hurt you? And let me just think for a second. No, it's gone.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
There's no option that's just like Karina Cufaro. I want to put I love. Dang, I guess I'll go with the staff in Starbucks. It's the closest thing to Karina. Yeah, I know. Okay. It's 10 a.m. on an average Saturday. We've changed day. How do you feel? I'll tell you once I've had a coffee. That's the one.
Yeah.
You need to read the others.
Oh,
Like someone poured.
I got my answer.
Oh, me too. The other options were like someone poured cement in my sinuses. Actually, yeah, but it's because chronic sinus infections, not because cocaine. Not that I'm assuming. It's just I know what the quiz is leading toward. Trapped inside a carousel of guilt and shame. Okay.
Oh my God.
Depressed. And did someone punch me in the jaw? Okay. Like someone's been using my mouth as an ashtray. No. Trapped into a new higher consciousness and changed forever. But oh wow. Listen, Ty. It was an accident. I got my answer. Did you get yours?
Yes. What are you?
Mine's actually really on brand. I'm caffeine. You're motivated, committed, and focused. If a little dull. Wow. Okay. You're not wrong. You didn't have to say it like that.
I got weed. A good person overall, but prone to self-doubt and lacking in ambition. I mean,
Aw.
I feel like self-doubt
You're
is a
very
yes,
ambitious.
but I'm pretty ambitious.
You're incredibly ambitious. You do a whole bunch of stuff. Taking on a podcast after all that other stuff you're doing. I think you're very ambitious.
Excellent.
It's okay. My BuzzFeed quiz called me dull, so.
Sorry, bro. BuzzFeed, hey, folks, put in the comments what you got. Go take the quiz and tell us which drug you are on.
And if you agree with what it describes you as, let us know.
Yeah, tell us about it. This is your favorite podcast, and don't you forget it.
That's it. See you next week. Thank you for tuning in. Have a beautiful everything.
Have a beautiful everything.
Bye.
All right, deuce.